ACA, the Affordable Care Act, waging his deadly lawsuit to destroy protections for pre-existing conditions and every other benefit of the Affordable Care Act, showing his deadly contempt for science and refusing to accept our national plan for testing, tracing, treatment. Joe Biden will do that. The president is installing an illegitimate Supreme Court justice just 1 week before the election, after 60 million Americans have voted, who will dismantle the ACA and won't say, by the way, when asked by Senator Feinstein, do you think Medicare is constitutional? She said she really couldn't say. Across the country, Democrats are advancing a drumbeat of action for the people: lower healthcare costs and prescription drug costs, bigger paychecks by building the green and resilient infrastructure of the future, cleaner government, strengthening voting rights, and passing the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act. The times have found us once again. You recall that Thomas Paine said about our founders in the dark days of the revolution. He said the times have found us. Well, they found us. And the stakes of this election are clear. This election is about nothing less than taking back the soul of America, whether our nation will follow the voices of fear or whether we will choose hope, liberty, and justice for all. This is the most consequential election of our lifetime, and I am confident that Americans will vote their health and vote for change. And I'm enormously grateful to our distinguished chair, Cheri Bustos, for her extraordinary leadership in mobilizing and owning the ground and amassing the financial resources, the money, and having discipline in our message, bold and progressive, appropriate to our districts. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Speaker Pelosi, and thank you, Chairwoman Bustos. Now we'll have a few minutes for questions for both of them. If you have a question, please put your name and your outlet in the chat box. We will unmute you and you can ask your question. And we'll give folks just a second to start lining up in the queue. Our first question comes from Josh Ortega with Cronkite News. Josh, if you want to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Thank you for the time, Madam Speaker and DCCC. I put it in the chat box. Many experts have said that no matter the results of this election, there will be unrest. What message would you give to your supporters, regardless of the outcome?
Shall I go first? As I said, be confident, be calm, be patient. On January 20th, Joe Biden will be inaugurated President of the United States. Whoever wins the election will be, and we respect that, the peaceful transfer of power. We are ready legally, constitutionally, congressionally, in every way to protect our democracy for any skullduggery that the president may try to introduce into this. But be assured that our democracy will survive. I don't like saying that. I don't like to have to do that. But if that's what the president wants to do, go onto that battlefield, we're ready.
I think just one other thought. We've invested $10 million in litigation efforts. And that, along with our partners, our sister committee, the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, and state parties. And that has been to make sure that we are protecting people's voting rights. We will continue to do that as long as we need to, going up to the end of the election day today, or even post-election if we need to do that. We have won some tremendous victories. Just take a look at Texas with the drive-by voting. The courts have ruled in our favor now a couple times. But that is what we're doing we're using the Constitution to protect people's voting rights. We are using the different branches of government, the judicial branch of government, to make sure we're protecting people's voting rights. And we'll continue to do that. But our overall message, as the speaker said, is, we live in a democracy. We are so fortunate to be able to live in this democracy where every vote does count. And we will use every legal means necessary to make sure that we count every vote. And as the speaker said, we just have to be patient. our friends in the media, you can help a great deal by calling for patience, and that the process that we live in is to make sure every vote is counted. And when you have 100 million Americans who have voted early, that's going to take a little bit longer. So I think that's our overall message.
Mhm.
Thanks so much for the question. Next, we'll go to Manu Raju with CNN.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, you
We can hear you.
Thanks for taking my question. Speaker Pelosi, you had said recently that you were definitely planning on running for Speaker in the new Congress, assuming you keep the majority. You, of course, had reached a deal back in 2018 to serve no longer than 4 years as Speaker. So do you expect next Congress would be your last term serving as Speaker?
Let me just say, with all due respect to you and the organization you represent, that's the least important question you could ask today. The fate of our nation, the soul of the nation is at stake in this election. We are fighting very hard in districts across the country to get a big vote out in our districts, not only to win the congressional districts, but also to contribute to the success of our Senate candidates, which is very, very important, winning the Senate, as well as the Electoral College. That's what we're here to talk about, not about my plans. We're here to talk about plans for our country, for our future, for our children. Elections are about the future. One of these days, I'll let you know what my plans are, when it is appropriate and when it matters. It doesn't matter right now.
Thank you so much for the question. Next, we'll go to Nick Fandos with the New York Times.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Madam Speaker, Chair Bustos. I know you're unlikely to give specific numbers, but I'm wondering, as we sit here, at 11 a.m. on Election Day, are you still confident that you will win seats by the time the ballots are all counted? And how optimistic are you in terms of how many seats you could pick up? 5, 10, 15, 1 or 2. What does a successful night look like from your vantage points?
Are you asking me first? Our chair, she of course has this in her head going. I spoke to just about all the candidates, both our incumbents who are running for re-election in difficult districts, our front line, as well as the red to blue candidates over the weekend. They're all very optimistic. You wouldn't run if you didn't think you had a chance to win. But something special is going on out there now. And what's happening on the ground, there's sort of a magical just inspiration to get people to the polls. So I feel absolutely certain that under Chair Bustos' leadership, we will solidly hold the House. I'm not going to say a number, but there's a range. Even the people who do this math all the time have a range of saying, well, you can win 10 to 20, but it could be 5. So in any event, we are the resources there, both financial, the M's, the 3 M's, in all of these places, because we believe that we can win many seats, but in every case, we hope that it could help win the Senate and win the White House. In addition to which, help win state and local elections too, because as you know, redistricting is on the line in these races as well. But let me just say, getting back to the very first question about this election, we believe that this normally, and of course there's nothing normal about what's in the White House, but normally this would be the start of healing. People are expressing themselves, they're making a decision in a democracy, and we would start the healing process. And that is what we hope to do. So when we say be calm, be patient, be confident about how we will win, that is to just pave the way for something that reaches out to everyone in our country. And as Joe Biden has said, he's running as a Democrat, but he's going to govern everyone in our country, whether they voted for him or not. So we need to heal, and we need that process to begin as soon as possible. One would have thought it would have been as people started to vote, but the president, for the next few weeks, has decided that he would be disruptive rather than unifying. Joe Biden is a unifier, and that's why his candidacy will succeed, and his presidency will bring our country together. Sherry, did you want to go into any numbers about how many we think we're going to win?
Well, and I'm sure our friends in the media can predict that we're not going to put a number to it, but elections are really, you make your own luck going into any election. And at the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, we made $350 million worth of luck because of the leadership of Speaker Pelosi. So we've got that. She already mentioned our wonderful candidates who we have running. We already mentioned a $10 million investment in litigation efforts to make sure that we are protecting people's right to vote. We have had boots on the ground going back to early 2019. So this is 100 weeks in the making. So what I will say is that we have built the foundation to be successful. I believe we will hold on to the majority. I believe we will grow the majority. I hope that number is as big as it can possibly be, but I'm not going to predict any certain number tonight. It is worth saying, though, not only do we have 30 Democrats running in Trump districts, we are playing deep into Trump districts, into districts where Donald Trump won by double digits, where we will pick up some seats. And that is a testament to these wonderful candidates we have running. It's also a testament to our wonderful freshman members of Congress who are running for their first reelection and have laid their own foundation for being hyper local, passing meaningful legislation that matters to people back home. So I think with all of that together, we're well positioned to have a good night.
Thanks for the question, Nick. Our next question will go to Nicholas Wu at USA Today.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yep. Hi, Nicholas.
Hi, thank you. Thanks so much for holding this. So my question is for both the speaker and the chairwoman. So, tonight there's quite a few districts that are competitive. Are there any in particular that you're watching as bellwethers for how the night will go?
Madam Speaker, would you like to start, or would you like
Well,
me
there's a
to?
large number of them, Nicholas, but let me just hearken back to the previous question for a moment. When Madam Chair was talking about our advantages and the quality of our candidates and the rest, it isn't just about the numbers. The quality of our candidates is so spectacular. The contrast between them and the person that they want to unseat or replace, if it's an open seat, is something remarkable to behold. And it was at 37, 38 seats that red to blue, 30 of them are women. Even among the men, there is diversity, as there is among the women as well. So this is last session, we added a tremendous class to the Congress, a class of freshmen to the Congress. This time we'll even enhance that. But let me just go back to the Madam Chair. She represents the heartland of America. She understands these districts very well because she has a Trump district. And so she is particularly well prepared to guide many of these candidates through what it takes to overcome a district where the President of the United States has carried it, and now you want to put it in the Democratic column. So we're not only blessed with the caliber of our candidates, we're very blessed with the particular leadership of Sherry Bustos in that regard. Let me say, you've probably seen in the press along the way, some of our very fewer than a handful of incumbents whose races we're watching, and then going beyond that, the red to blue. I've seen all kinds of prognostications of we win the seat in Ohio, if we win the seat in Indiana, it's a blowout and this or that. We're just taking it one district at a time, and they are unique, these districts, and the candidates are representative of them. That's their job title, and that's their job description, representative. So I won't venture to say what ones we would look at to say whether we win or lose those isn't dispositive of what happens at the end of the day. Perhaps our chair is.
Well, I would just point you to look at some of these districts where I don't think at the start of the cycle, too many people looking from the outside in would have said, really, you're playing in Arkansas 2 with Joyce Elliott, you're playing in Virginia 5 with Cameron Webb, you're playing in New York 2 with Jackie Gordon, you're playing in Montana, the whole state of Montana with Kathleen Williams. Wendy Davis in Texas 22. I mean, we have this whole list, Christina Hale in Indiana 5. We have this whole list of these wonderful candidates. Again, they've got the resources, so their communities know who they are, what they stand for, what they will do as a congresswoman or a congressman. And they've run tremendous campaigns. They fit their districts like a glove. And I think we are going to see some wins in these deep red districts that over time you're going to see going from ruby red to purple to even blue. And I think that will be the story out of tonight's election, that so many people on the outside looking in thought that all we were going to do is have a defensive strategy because we flipped 40 seats in 2018. But we knew from the start that not only were we going to have a defensive strategy, but we were going to have an offensive one as well. And that is what we're going into this election day having accomplished, is that we've got a deep offensive, a deep defensive strategy, and we think that that will pay dividends.
Thanks for the question, Nicholas. Next, we'll go to Kirk Beda with the National Journal.
Hey guys, thanks for having us today. My question is, you talked about the measures that you want to take to make sure every vote is counted. What does that look like, and what are the conditions that you will accept a race result tonight or whenever it gets called?
Chairwoman, do you want to start there?
Sure. Well, so I talked with you a little bit about, in addition to our strategy to protect voting rights, we also have invested $9 million in a voter education strategy, which we've never had to do before. But because we're living through this pandemic, because we've had 100 million voters cast their ballots early, we've invested in that. So to help get that right. On top of it, we have partnered with the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, the Democratic Governors Association, the Biden-Harris campaign, and Democratic entities all over the country to make sure that we have a team of lawyers all over the country who are standing by if we need them to make sure that they are there to protect every single vote. So it's a strategy that we have had leading up to Election Day. It's a strategy on Election Day, and it's a strategy that we will have post-Election Day. This is an Election Day that may end up looking like an election week. I hope not a whole lot longer than that, but if it does, the goal here is to count every single vote, and we have a whole team ready leading up to this and then post-election as well.
If I just may add to that, I love being in Congress because of the issues, but for the children, for the policy and the rest. But I enjoy campaigning in elections. I was the chair of the California Democratic Party a while back, the Northern chair. I've been a party activist and community organizer for a long time. Then when my children were babies, that's what we did, door to door. And so Sherry said it perfectly. There are 3 stages to respecting the voter and protecting the vote. How you lead up to it, the pre-vote, and this time, the time leading up turned out to be a time of intense voting as well. How you protect the vote on Election Day to make sure that there is no intimidation and that is stopped where you may see it, and then to protect the vote and how it is counted as we emerge from this evening. And it's the numbers. There's nothing strange about it. It's about the numbers. The people have voted. The votes must be counted, and they must be counted as they are cast. And there are plenty of witnesses on both sides, and that's important, that both sides bear witness to the validity of the count. But should there be some challenge, because they said they're going to count every vote, one thing and another, in an unusual way, but nonetheless, as Madam Chair said, we are ready for it, working with others. And I would add to that the important work that Eric Holder is doing at the Democratic National Committee for Redistricting that has been very mild in the courts, but also in the elections to make sure that this vote is one that is respected. The voter is respected, the vote is protected, the results result in a peaceful transfer of power.
Thanks for the question, Kirk. Our last question comes from Christina Peterson with the Wall Street Journal.
Thank you. Could you chat a little bit about the implications of expanding your majority? Why is that important going ahead in terms of what you can get done on the policy front or otherwise?
Well, it's always good to be able to represent the people of the district and to meet their needs. Your question takes us to the why. Why do people run? They run because they believe in our country. They run because they care about a particular subject, whether it's protecting the planet from the climate crisis, whether it's the education of our children in a way that is fair. The list goes on and on. My why was the children, for the children. The 1 in 5 children in America lives in poverty. And so when people ask me what are 3 most important issues facing the Congress, I always say the same thing. Our children, our children, our children, their health, their education, the economic security of their families, the clean, safe, and safe from gun violence as well, an atmosphere in which they can thrive, a world at peace in which they can reach their fulfillment. So for all of these reasons, people are Democrats for a reason. And one of the reasons is that we care about America's working families. Another reason is because we respect bipartisanship, that we are confident in what we believe, humble enough to listen to others, and again, to have e pluribus from many one. So increasing our numbers is important in that regard because we want the people of those districts to have their families' interest represented at the table when decisions are made about our families. And again, our races will contribute to winning the Senate, the governorship, state and local races, as well as the presidency of the United States. Madam Chair?
I couldn't say it better than that. I absolutely agree with you.
And I want to just say something about our chair. She had this idea of spreading this wide net. I, who was trying to amass the resources for it, was saying, can we afford all of that? Can we afford all of that? But she was so right. Because when opportunities presented themselves on the ground, she already had a candidate in the field, not only a candidate, a well-supported candidate in the field, which helped make some of that opportunity. In all of this, when we won in 2018, Madam Chair was very much a part of putting together the message for the people. For the people, we would lower the cost of healthcare by lowering the cost of prescription drugs and preserving the pre-existing condition. For the people, we would lift up paychecks by building the green infrastructure of America, green and resilient. And for the people, we would have cleaner government, which gave people confidence that their vote and their voice counted as much as anyone else's. But Cheri Bustos was part of the team that worked with our members to put that message together. That disciplined message helped us win then, help us win now. But in that 2018 election, you understand that healthcare emerged preeminently there because we made our own environment. 10,000 events of people telling their stories about why healthcare was important to them and why they were voting their health. Well, they're voting their health again this time because we made our own environment. And I salute our chair for not only the messaging and the mobilization that springs from the inspiration of the message, but amassing the resources to make it possible. Nothing more important, though, than having the great candidates that we have, which I will yield to her to describe to us with the pride that she takes and who's going to come to the Congress next time.
Yeah, I'll just close. I know that was our last question, but I'll just close by saying this is a team sport. And Robin and the rest of the media, our media team is probably sick of my sports analogies, but this is a team sport. Speaker Pelosi is the coach. She's Coach Pelosi leading all of this in our strategy. And these elections today, so many of them are jump balls. All right, they are close. When I say that we are playing deep into red territory in districts that Donald Trump won by double digits, that is the reality that we are going into today. But I think because we have built this great foundation, because we have been building this for 100 weeks now, and have that foundation, have the fundamentals down with the resources, the great candidates, And really what unites us as Democrats, it is our values around the things that the speaker was talking about, healthcare, that is affordable for people, getting the mess in Washington, the corruption cleaned up. And then as we come out of this pandemic, as our health gets better, and Joe Biden has a plan for this, a national strategy, we also have to rebuild our country. And that is how we bring up wages. That's how we create jobs that will be desperately needed as we get out of this pandemic. So I think to the question about why it's important to expand our majority, because we can make all of that happen. And I'm very, very much looking forward to the conclusion of tonight, and hoping for a great outcome and hoping for better days ahead.
If I just might say, you mentioned some of the challenges. Our motto is, we don't agonize, we organize. We can bemoan some of what is happening in this administration, but we're even prouder of what we can do to make progress for our children. So again, we don't agonize, we organize, and that's why we're going to increase our numbers tonight and make the future better for our children. Onward to a great Democratic victory. Thank you, Sherry Bustos.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thanks to our press corps as well. Appreciate you guys' time.
Thanks
you.
everyone for joining. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to email me at patterson@dccc.org. We'll be available all day and to help look at results tonight. Thanks again.
Thank you, Robin.
Everybody. Thank you, Robin.
What is